the
silence in honor of those Purple Heart recipients whose medals had to be received by the victims. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the day and the blessings that you've given us in it. We thank you for the blessings of liberty and freedom. And we ask that you let this place serve as a lasting reminder that the freedoms we enjoy in this country were paid for by the service and sacrifice of others. And we ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Mr. Mayor, city officials, residents, most importantly, my fellow veterans, good morning. Originally awarded as the Fidelity Medal in 1790 by the Continental Congress, and then awarded as the Badge of Military Merit in 1792 by President George Washington. The Purple Heart Medal is the oldest military medal awarded in our country to our military servicemen and women. It obtained its final modern-day appearance in 1932 from the orders of General Douglas MacArthur. It truly was and still is an award of the people, able to be bestowed upon any eligible service member, no matter what rank they held. The most junior enlisted person, the most senior officer. Throughout the years, the Purple Heart, a medal that nobody particularly wants to be awarded, as it signifies being wounded in combat, has evolved throughout the years in eligibility criteria and slightly in appearance. It has been awarded to soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen, some of whom you've never heard of, some of whom have been very famous. Men and women have been awarded this medal. Some have even been awarded to some of our animal troops, including a couple dogs and a horse. Even one of our country's former presidents, John F. Kennedy, was awarded the Purple Heart. It is an award that entails its awardees the deserving recognition of the highest honor from our fellow countrymen. In the Gospel according to the Apostle John, chapter 15, verse 13, greater love hath no man than this, a man lay down his life for his friends. I would venture to say that no Purple Heart awardee went into battle to earn this medal. They went into battle for their brother and sister fighting next to them, and for their brothers and sisters back here at home, most whom they'd never meet. That, my brothers and sisters, is worthy of all of our love and appreciation. Speaking on behalf of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, our District Commander, Jim Durnall, our State Commander, Glenn Tilley, and the Veterans Council of Duval County, and from my family and I, to all of you who've been awarded this magnificent symbol of sacrifice, thank you. Well done. You deserve every ounce of respect that you're given today and every day. To our Mayor, Charlie Latham, I know your father and grandfather have been awarded this medal, sir. Thank you and all of the residents and the folks that have made this happen. All the staff of the city of Jacksonville Beach, the Parks and Rec, everybody who's had their hands on putting this memorial here. We stand as one in support of the men and women who've been bestowed this prestigious medal. To our Purple Heart Medal awardees, may we never forget your service and your sacrifice. May we continue to be inspired to do better in our lives daily by what you've done with yours. May God bless all of you. Thank you.
down our backyard. Our post is about 6 or 8 blocks from here. We're very proud to have it here. I've been involved in trying to get this done. A bunch of people from the city. I see a lot of Purple Heart recipients. Thank you for your service. Thank all veterans for your service.
At this ceremony, it's such an honor. On this special day here in Jacksonville Beach, the War Memorial relocation and a Purple Heart dedication, we are also paying honor to Jackson Beach's fallen wartime military veterans who died defending our country's freedoms. In a few minutes, I will be reading the roll call of names that are listed on the World War II plaque, which was originally dedicated in 1947, as well as those that came after, bravely serving our country, defending our country's freedoms, and they too ultimately paid the supreme sacrifice. We ask you to remember each of them because they had ties to or called Jacksonville Beach their home. They too played on the streets of Jacksonville Beach, walked to school with their best friends, and shared dreams for what they wanted to do in life. Their dreams were endless, but none of those dreams were ever fulfilled because of the course of history altered them. There were the Wellingtons, Ivan Roy Wellington Sr. and his wife Viva, who lived on 9th Avenue North. Within a 10-month period, 3 Western Union telegrams were delivered to their home. In May of 1944, the first to notify the Wellington family that their son-in-law, Lieutenant Leonard Johnson, was shot down and killed in action over Wake Island. This was 22 days after he received the Distinguished Flying Cross, and shortly after celebrating his 1-year anniversary to their daughter Connie. 8 months later, the next telegram arrived, this time to inform them that their son-in-law, First Lieutenant John Dean, was killed in the Battle of the Bulge. Dean single-handedly destroyed a German machine gun turret and was killed trying to take out a second one. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for his actions. He was married to Harriet Wellington. 2 months later, the family was informed that their son, brother, Private Ivan Wellington Jr., Fletcher High School 1942 valedictorian, was killed in action in Germany. Then there were the Harrells, who lived on 9th Avenue South. 4 of their sons served our country during the Vietnam era. Only 2 of the 4 returned home safely. Roger was captain in the United States Marine Corps, a highly decorated, skilled aviator, flying helicopters and performing daring rescue extractions for soldiers during the Vietnam War, logging over 400 missions. Stanley Harrell, his younger brother, idolized Roger, followed him into the United States Marine Corps. In Stanley's last year of his enlistment, he was killed in a firefight against enemy forces. Roger escorted Stanley's body home. After Stanley died, Roger thought to leave the Marines. However, he felt he was still needed in Vietnam to help save the lives of other young Marines. Roger returned to a tour in Vietnam. He was killed 10 months after he escorted Stanley's body home. These are just 2 family stories. They all have stories. They are all our heroes, and they all will never be forgotten. They are more than just a name on the wall. Jacksonville Beach's fallen wartime military veterans roll call. World War II. Corporal Otis Oliver Fox, killed during the Battle of Iwo Jima. Staff Sergeant George Henry Brewer, U.S. Army. Tech Sergeant Clarence J. Burnett, U.S. Army. Private Ivan Roy Wellington Jr., U.S. Army. First Lieutenant John W. Dean, U.S. Army. Lieutenant Leonard A. Johnson, U.S. Navy. Flight Officer Albert L. Gates, Jr., U.S. Army Air Corps. Specialist Second Class Robert M. Gilchrist, U.S. Navy. Private Asbury Kelly, United States Marine Corps, killed in action in the Battle of Okinawa. Second Lieutenant William Chris Hitchler, U.S. Army. Flight Sergeant Albert W. Hickey. He was with the Royal Canadian Air Force. He twice was rejected by the United States military, so he joined the Royal Canadian Air Force because he wanted to fight against the Germans. 840 Americans did the same thing and died for their country in the Royal Canadian Air Force as Americans. First Lieutenant Arthur G. Mosley, United States Air Corps. Mary Betty Possert, she was with the United States Coast Guard. Ratingman First Class Guy D. Paul. Private Joseph F. Shornack, U.S. Army. Private Alan C. Wright, U.S. Army. Private Kenjiro Yoshida. He enlisted in the Army and assigned to the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, which was made up of mostly Japanese Americans. This infantry regiment was awarded more medals for fighting in Europe than any other American unit of comparable size. Kenjiro was killed in action in Italy. Captain Earl L. Bradner, United States Merchant Marines. Able-bodied Seaman Riley Gainey, Merchant Marines. Third Assistant Engineer Charles Butler, Merchant Marines. Fireman William Scheit, Merchant Marines. Vietnam War. Gunnery Sergeant Benjamin Alvin Chitko, United States Marine, 14-year decorated, highly decorated Marine. He served both in Korea and Vietnam. He was killed in action in Vietnam. Private First Class Dwayne Corbett, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Richmond Ross Ricky Luce, U.S. Army. Private First Class Weimer Raymond Gast, United States Marine Corps. Captain Roger Parry Harrell, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Stanley M. Harrell, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class John Howden Franks, United States Army. Specialist Fourth Class Charles William Warner, Jr., United States Army. The Iraq War. Sergeant Marcus W. Perdom, United States Marine Corps. He was a 2004 Fletcher graduate. He was on a wrestling team. He worked at the Beach Hut Cafe. He may have served some of you. He was killed by a suicide bomber in Anbar Province in 2008. Staff Sergeant Darren Hubble. He was a 14-year Army combat medic. Died in a roadside bomb. He attended Seabreeze Elementary School and Fletcher Junior High School. Staff Sergeant First Class Gerard Mantino Reed, 1985 Fletcher graduate. She said, "You really miss the family, being home on Christmas Day, and he died for God and country in a place so far away. I remember just a little boy playing war since he was 3, and Lord, this time I know he's not coming home to me." She said, "Lord, my boy was special, and he meant so much to me, and oh, I'd love to see him, but I know it just can't be. So I thank you for my memories and the moments to recall, but Lord, could you tell him he's more than a name on the wall? Lord, could you tell him he's more than a name on the wall?" Thank you.
For the Purple Heart and all Purple Heart recipients in attendance, I'd like to thank the Honorable Mayor Latham and the City Council for making today possible. I'd also like to take a second to recognize the tireless efforts of the Parks and Rec Department. They remain flexible and adapted during the pandemic to execute this mission flawlessly. So let's give them a big hand if we can. Today the Mayor will proclaim Jacksonville Beach a Purple Heart City. That represents its commitment in supporting the men and women of our nation's military who have spilled their blood or even sacrificed their very lives in dedication to the principles that make our country great. Though Purple Heart recipients sacrifice themselves on the fields of battle, their burden is not carried alone. They are supported by their families, their brothers and sisters in arms, and the patriotic citizens of their communities. It is paramount that we come together in order to rebuild the lives that have been directly impacted while protecting our freedoms. Jacksonville Beach is the final link in the chain here in Duval County. And with this proclamation, it solidifies this county as being comprised completely of Purple Heart cities. This means a great deal to me personally, because I grew up here in Jacksonville Beach. And I was raised by a Vietnam veteran right here off of Holly Drive and Penman Road. One of our members was worked for the post office right off of 3rd Street. We have a commitment here. I grew up with Mayor-elect Hoffman. We went to school together at Fletcher. There's a strong commitment of this community in standing behind its veterans through all the veteran service organizations and the people who comprise this beautiful city. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the Purple Heart recipients in attendance today. As I call your name, can you please stand? Sylvester Bolden. Lee Brown. Bob Cooper. Craig Dang. Bob Flagg. Eddie Harrison. Jim Mott. Jack Hill. Frank Papura. Bill Smith. Lee Van Loo. And Jim Wellman. Jim Wellman's our chapter commander. And the sands of Iraq. Their sacrifice and valor make up the fabric of our community. Jacksonville Beach has taken the necessary step in bridging the divide between civilian, military, and veterans, ensuring that these patriots no longer remain isolated from a population from which they not only want to reintegrate with, but also thrive within. The dedicated leaders of the city of Jacksonville Beach and the veteran service organizations within Duval County have made it a priority to take care of combat wounded veterans and their families. Today proves that fact. I speak for everyone when I say what an honor it is to see this community come together to pay homage to the sacrifices of some of its greatest citizens so that this county, this country, can remain the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for all your support for the last 8 years. And also thanks to my fellow councilmen for making the decision to bring this memorial here. If you've been blessed to be able to make it to Normandy, Catherine and I made it there for the 74th, I think, anniversary. As you come around through the bus parking lot, make that left around, and you see the ocean, the beaches that our brothers fought for. And you continue around the corner and you see thousands of crosses and stars of David. You're not human if you're not crying. I mean, it's one of the most somber sights I've ever seen in my life. And the only time I've even come close to feeling that way again is when I came up here today and felt that breeze on the ocean, the flags ruffling, and so many amazing people standing here, my fellow brothers in arms and sisters in arms. So thank you very much for being here. I'm going to keep it really short because I do have at one point I'm trying to get it to you. Okay, I am. Back in 2018, I was asked to be guest speaker at the Beaches Veterans Memorial Park in Atlantic Beach, and recently somebody asked me to repeat that speech for this event, so I'm going to do that real quick. Today I'm going to take you to the hidden side of the Purple Heart, a side I hope you and your family will never experience. After 2 sea tours, I received my dream shore tour in the Navy. I was stationed to the Naval Reserve Officer Training Unit at the University of Florida, where I was going to teach engineering. I had died and gone to heaven. How many 20-year-olds got to go back to their university and be an instructor, and I was very excited. And as all of you know, most of us in the military, we have our primary responsibilities and the collateral duties. One of the collateral duties that I had at the University of Florida was CACO, North Central Florida and Northeast Florida. CACO stands for Casualty Action Calls Officer, and does next kin notifications for families who lost their loved ones or had an injury to their loved ones. My predecessor, Lieutenant Virginia Kastner, told me that she had to perform 1 CACO call in 3 years, and it was the most devastating experience of her life. I hoped and I prayed that I'd never have to complete a CACO call, but I pretty much lived, and then I went on to live the greatest life you could imagine as a young naval officer. A few short months later, on Monday, April 4th, my phone rang at 01:30. It was Decedent Affairs in Charleston, South Carolina. A few hours earlier, the first ever bombing against the U.S. by Muslim extremists had occurred. An attack took place at the USO in Naples, Italy, during a talent show for the USO. A bomb exploded and killed a 20-year-old radium-in third class, Angela Simone Santos. It was policy that all notifications be done between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., but since the Italian press had released her name, I was directed by Decedent Affairs to go immediately to notify her family. They were located, the family was located in Lake Weir, Florida, in Marion County, and this was before GPS, so I had no idea how to get to this house. So I called the Marion County Sheriff's Office and asked them to send a deputy over to escort us over there. He was kind enough to do that, and when we arrived, I can't even begin to tell you how I felt. I still, to this day, think it was just yesterday, and I'll remember it every day of my life. I literally had no training to do this. They gave us a short phrase to memorize and then a bunch of checklists to complete when we were done. We arrived at the family's home at 04:30, and without any notice, the deputy rang the doorbell. I was still trying to psych myself up, so he caught me off guard. A very disheveled woman came to the door, and I froze. I froze solid. After about 5 or 10 seconds, and it seemed like about 5 minutes, the deputy elbowed me in the ribs and said, "Well, go ahead." Mrs. Cruz, I said, with my voice shaking. My name is Lieutenant Charlie Latham, United States Navy. I regret to inform you of the loss of Robert. I'm sorry. Angela was killed during the bombing of the USO in Naples, Italy. Needless to say, she was inconsolable. I offered her my shaking arms, and I held her as she wept. We sat on her porch for what seemed like hours, and I shared what information I had at that point, which wasn't much. I confirmed that I would be assigned her full time until we got Angela safely home and all her belongings. Then at 8 o'clock on the dot, the phone rang. Her 16-year-old son went to get the phone, and I figured it was the Decedent Affairs checking on me, because he said, there's someone here that wants to talk to the naval officer in charge. So I showed up, picked up the phone. I said, "Lieutenant Latham," and the voice on the other end said, "Stand by for the President." But you can imagine I was standing tall and scared at the same time. I could feel my knees buckle slightly when I heard the voice of President Ronald Reagan, who asked, "Who am I speaking with?" "My name's Lieutenant Latham, sir." He said, "What's your first name?" I said, "It's Charlie." He said, "How's she doing, Charlie?" About as good as can be expected.
expected, sir. She spoke with President Reagan for about a good 5 minutes. And I can tell you, I've never been so proud of the man I've seen in my life. After the president's call, I hugged Mrs. Cruz, told her to rest assured I'd take care of everything for Angela. I then started the task of getting Angela home and making arrangements for her funeral. I was called by Governor Bob Martinez's office and notified he would be attending, as would Senator Connie Mack, Congressman Buddy McKay, and several admirals from Washington, D.C. and FTC Orlando. The funeral was covered on national news. There were dozens of dignitaries and hundreds of attendees. Tears flowed from my eyes as the honor guard played taps. It took me 3 months to close Angela's case. 2.5 months later, on Sunday, June 19th, which was Father's Day, was my second KCO call. The 42-year-old Chief Petty Officer was killed in an engineering accident while deployed on a Los Angeles class submarine. When my colleague and I arrived to notify the father, he saw us get out of the Navy van and he fell to his knees sobbing because he knew exactly why we were there. He was a retired Master Chief and he knew why we were there. There were no calls from the President, there were no calls from the Governor, there were no admirals at the funeral, it was just his friends and family. I had 28 more KCO calls in the next 2 years. As we observe this special day today, we honor the men and women who served because the cause of freedom, and we pay tribute to those who lost their lives or limbs in the line of duty. By taking an oath to protect their fellow citizens, our military members answer a vital calling and accept a profound responsibility. These extraordinary Americans provide protection and defense of the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We owe a lasting debt to those who sacrificed themselves while serving and protecting our country. These fallen and wounded heroes live on in our national memory